Here's a sample MCAT CARS question with expert feedback. Assume that contemporary literary studies involving a systematic analysis of text have yielded evidence of underlying attitudes that traditional literary criticism had not detected. How does this assumption relate to assertions made in the passage? 1. It is consistent with the assertion that the transfer of the methods of the natural sciences to art has not fulfilled expectations. 2. It constitutes evidence for the assertion that there is a field in which the methodologies of science and literary study overlap. 3. It is inconsistent with the assertion that philosophy, history, and theology have worked out valid methods of knowing that can be modified to apply to the humanities. A. 1 only. B. 2 only. C. 1 and 3 only. D. 2 and 3 only.
Assume that contemporary literary studies involving systematic analysis of text have yielded evidence of underlying attitudes that traditional literary criticism had not detected. How does this assumption relate to the assertions made in the passage? So this one you had chosen D, which is 1 and 3 only. And so walk me through how you made this choice.
I knew that 2 was definitely one of them. So it was either going to be B or D.
Good.
And then I think that because it was saying that the systemic analysis of text yielded evidence, so then it's more supporting like the scientific analysis side of it. So then it would be inconsistent with like siding with philosophy and history and all that stuff as valid methods of knowing.
So sorry, can you elaborate on what you mean there just a little bit? So you're saying that three you thought fit, D 3 you fit because, can you just say that one more time? Rephrase it if you don't mind.
The stem of the question is supporting more systemic analysis and science part.
Okay,
so
yeah.
then 3 is saying that it would be inconsistent with the assertion that philosophy and history and theology are valid methods of knowing.
Right.
So
And
by supporting the science, you're kind of going against the humanities side of it. So that's kind of what I thought.
okay, and I see exactly why you made that connection. But the actual thing is that the word systemic here is doing a lot of heavy lifting. And earlier in the text, the author says they're both systemic, right? So the systemic analysis part isn't just a part of the scientific methodology, right? Scientific methodology has other elements such as empiricism, experimental conditions, other forms of hypothetical reasoning, which make science science. But these other fields are equally systemic is the idea. So, and this is outside knowledge. But one thing to know is like traditionally in German, the word Wissenschaft, which means science, means knowledge craft, which is a nice phrase. And all the subjects are called sciences in German because they're all systemic ways of crafting knowledge, right? And then there's another name they give for specific, they just call it natural sciences, but they call other fields, even philosophy, science, which is interesting. Yeah. So the systemic part is the main consideration here. So now do you see why that doesn't work here? Because it's not in direct contradiction.
Yeah.
Right. It doesn't, I mean, it's not inconsistent, right? So it doesn't mean that because these new methods they don't contradict the old methods, there's overlap, they're just not identical. Yeah, great. And then number 2, right, constitutes evidence for the assertion that there is a field in which the methodologies and of science and literary study overlap. That's clearly what the author is emphasizing, and that's what the systemic analysis part is. Any questions, thoughts, reflections? Okay.
Everything seems like clear now that there's so much time to think about it, but like the time crunch, I feel like is what's really like you miss things. Yeah.
But that's good because that demonstrates to yourself that you're confident about your reasoning, and it's just going to be about getting more efficient on how to move through the text, summarize it quickly, do all the steps well without losing focus or information, right? But you're demonstrating to yourself and to me that you're able to reason through these very clearly. So that's good. And the time constraint is kind of the hardest part, right? Yeah.
Stick around for more sample MCAT CARS questions with expert feedback to help you score in the 90th percentile or higher.